Colton's. It's going to get started. It's 4 o'clock. They officially signed he died, meaning the session is ended with no budget pass. So, Kate, you want to go ahead and give us a summary?
Sure, I'll kick us off as Ryan and Ron said, just about 30 minutes or so ago, the House and Senate completed their work for regular session. Um, a lot of bills died on the vine, and I know we've talked a little bit about the ACSC bill that thankfully passed. Although in true end of session fashion, I think it ended up with a oil drilling prohibition in for North Florida in there as well. And it did make it across the finish line. The Senate president, in comments today, indicated that in his view, there's still plenty of time to get a budget done before the fiscal year starts July 1. And that this week marks the end of sort of the policy portion of the session, looking at mid-April to return for completing the budget. The property tax issue is still outstanding in terms of a timeline for any future special session. That has not been decided, but they do already have a special session on redistricting scheduled for April 20th to 24th. So we're looking at mid-April to go back up and complete the budget portion of this year's process. But this year marks the end of policy, and I'll kick it over to Ryan for some additional info.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Not a whole lot to add, quite frankly. I mean, the two chambers remain about one and a half, just under $1 billion apart. And quite frankly, I don't know that it will be very easy to agree to top line allocations with what the Senate president is looking to fund overall. You'll recall that we've talked about sort of the relationship between the Senate and the governor's office is much better than the House and the governor's office. So it's likely that the Senate has to, quote unquote, purchase some of the governor's legislative priorities. And so that puts them in a detrimental position when negotiating with the House, who doesn't want as much. Or really anything for that matter. Really, Speaker Perez has said all along that all he wants is to get a better handle on the state's recurring spending. And so I feel that the House is going to be pretty steadfast in its $113 billion budget proposal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of the next couple weeks and whether or not they can take a breath, cool off, and agree to top line allocations like Kate mentioned. Generally what happens in a chaotic session is that not a lot of bills passed. I think we had ultimately, as of 20 minutes ago, 185 bills actually pass and are sent to the governor. And keep in mind, that's out of about 2,200 that were ultimately filed. So really not a whole lot that occurred. And from a local government perspective, generally that's a good thing, right? Because it means that there wasn't as much pain as could have been inflicted on local governments throughout the course of the session. Some things that were surprising is sovereign immunity passed, which for about 7 years now, the legislature has tried to increase the sovereign immunity caps. They are at 200,000 per person, 300,000 per incident. And should the governor sign the bill that's being sent to his desk, it will go up to $350,000 per person, $500,000 per incident. The House had been pretty steadfast in wanting to give local governments the ability to settle tort claims above the sovereign immunity caps, effectively rendering caps useless. Senate never wanted that position, and ultimately the House stood down, which is, again, surprising because they've been pretty persistent on that for the last 3 sessions in particular. So that provision is not in the final bill. So no need to worry there, but it remains to be seen whether the governor will sign it, quite frankly. We talked throughout this session about the question of whether or not the legislature would fix the Senate Bill 180 issue. Certainly they did not do so holistically. There was some original conversation about the Senate trying to make some changes to that. They did not do so in a holistic fashion again. So that issue will likely come back again next year, and we'll see if it is fixed. Not as many land use and growth management bills passed as originally filed, obviously, with the small number of bills that ultimately passed. But one that really was one of the last three bills that did pass dealt with land use and development regulations. It was House Bill 399. Kate and I and a number of folks worked earlier this week on an amendment to that bill, because there was a provision in there that effectively said that manufactured homes could not be denied building permits within RV parks. And we wanted to clarify, obviously, because of the ROGO issue, that any manufactured home conversion would have to at least adhere to the permit restrictions as defined in law. And so that was something that was agreed to, and Senator Rodriguez and Rep. Mooney were very helpful in that effort in sort of a last second scramble. Kate talked about the area of critical state concern bill. That was, again, an exercise on day 58 where two Panhandle legislators wanted to prohibit inland oil drilling on the Apalachicola River. And so that came together very, very quickly, and within 10 minutes was amended and heard on the Senate floor, sent over to the House, and passed and is being sent to the governor. So that was a positive as well. Trying to think of what else I could bring up. I mean, we'll have a certainly substantive report to you about all that did pass and fail, because generally the bills that failed give you a pretty good indication of what may or may not be coming back next legislative session. So it's always good to kind of understand the universe of bills that both passed and failed, because usually bad ideas tend to be recycled. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But to Kate's point, we still don't know what's going to happen with property taxes. I'm hard pressed to believe that nothing will be on the ballot in November. So the question becomes, you've got the House, who has already put forward, a full abolition of property taxes, and a Senate who has kind of said publicly and privately they might just want to see a $50,000 increase to the current homestead exemption to come up to $100,000 in total. So a lot to be sort of debated and discussed over the course of the next month, but I'm still skeptical that the two chambers are going to be able to get together by, the next 2 weeks to have allocations to then go into budget conference and have a special session on the budget, but I could be surprised. So we'll see what happens. And Ron, we can answer any questions from that point.
On the budget stuff, we had 4 items in the House budget, 0 in the Senate. They never got to conference, so it was never decided. When they start over again, sometimes they carry it forward. Do you think we're going to start off with those items in the House budget?
I do. I would be surprised if they started completely over, quite frankly. I mean, now I say that with the caveat that anything can happen and does in this crazy world, but I would be very, very surprised if they started over.
I agree with Ryan. I think they're likely to use those as the jumping off point.
And did we ever get any feedback from Senator Rodriguez, whether she felt that optimistic we get it in the Senate side?
I think she has felt consistently in a good position with the Senate Budget Appropriations Chairman and the President as well. So I don't have any cause for concern, simply because we were funded in the House and not the Senate. That was, as we've mentioned, probably 95% of the people's position, because the House just funded a lot more member projects than the Senate did.
Did the council have anything? Mayor Horton, do you have something?
Did you mention whatever happened with our fix to 180?
So Senate Bill 840 was the quote unquote fix. And that bill did not pass the House. There was an attempt at one point to make some incremental changes in House Bill 399 that ultimately passed, but it's certainly not a complete fix of Senate Bill 180. So the attempt to fix was sort of a narrowing of the radius. Senate Bill 180, there was a 100-mile radius in terms of when you would be preempted from amending your comp plan. The effort was to narrow that down to 50. And so I am still honestly going through House Bill 399 in its final form because it was just passed 20 minutes ago. So that's something, Vice Mayor, that I'm happy to sort of provide in writing here in the next couple of days, just so everybody's clear what actually happened.
And then those bills that were presented as it relates to, building department reviews and special inspections and all of that. Did any of those ever wander their way through, or did they just all die before you even got to committee?
No, we did have a quote unquote qualified contractors bill. Portions of it were placed on another bill that was moving through the process and ultimately passed yesterday. And so that's another bill that I can get you. It was watered down from its original version. You'll recall the original version effectively made private providers employees of the local government. It is not as punitive or as painful as it was. But I'll make sure to highlight both 399 and the qualified contractors bill in an email to you.
And then as far as, I suppose we really, before we even open up any discussion related to these modular homes that are being titled as mobiles, I know that we started this discussion later on in the year, and we just knew that it was going to go nowhere this legislative session with the pushes that were happening with taxes and all. When, Ryan, Kate, when is going to be the best time to go knock on some doors and try to help people make some sense up there in Tallahassee of what they've done to taxable property in a lot of different communities when they're letting modular homes be registered as mobile homes? When's going to be the best time to go back up there and bring that up?
Honestly, Vice Mayor, it is going to be certainly after the special session, and it starts at home, right? I think we need to identify, as you have already done, at least the beginning of this work, who our allies are there, and because we're going to need to have more than just Senator Rodriguez and Rep. Mooney pushing that idea. So it's a matter of identifying those allies and then working probably through the summer with them to really create that brush fire of a narrative.
Okay, thank you.
Anna, did you have something?
No, I'm good. Thank you, guys.
Sharon, do you have anything?
No, Don pretty much asked the questions I was going to ask, so I'm good too. Thank you.
And since we're probably running elections now, any of the election bills passed and changed how you can register to vote or vote by mail or anything?
Yes, the election bill did pass today, and I think that's going to have to be on our sort of list of in terms of what we get you more information on, because there was a lot of discussion and I think 35 amendments that were filed to that bill yesterday.
I was going to say that one changed quite a bit, so we might.
But yes, an elections bill did pass.
Okay, whatever detail you can get us, because it may affect what the clerk has to do here. So
Absolutely.
okay, I got Frank Derfler on. Frank, did you want to ask anything? He does not have his hand raised. Okay. I know y'all have anything else you want to talk about? That's all. So do we need to have another, before we end this one, is there a reason to have any more of these calls until special session?
I don't think so. I think we can keep you all posted if we hear anything on property tax and things like that. But I don't think we'll have any policy bills to move through between now and special session.
Okay, well, if you can just give us those written reports that Ryan was talking about, like the analysis of what these bills we brought up, as long as you email all 5 of our council and me, I think we'll be covered on our end. Unless there's something that the council wants to hear that I'm not aware of. Anybody else? Anything else? Is that it for you guys, Kate?
That's it for me. If I think we've got a pretty good idea of the bills to report in our final reports. But if there's anything in particular anyone wants to make sure we touch on, just shoot us a note, and I'm sure we can include that in our reports.
And John Quick just got on the call. He's our village attorney. John, can you hear us? Do you have any questions for what happened? They've signed he died, so the regular session is now over. Did you have anything you wanted to get updated on?
No, I'm good. I've been on the whole time, so I heard everything, and everything's covered from my end.
Okay. Well, once again, I want to thank Ryan and Angela and Frank for these calls every Friday. I think it's been very helpful. I think the public like to have the access to them, and we got great feedback from that. And so, thank you again from half the village of doing these. And we'll just wait until something is scheduled to resume them. So let us know when you think they should be resumed, and we'll set them back up again. Anybody else have any final comments?
Have a good weekend.
Thanks,
Right.
everyone.
See-
Have a great weekend.
Seeing none, it's 4:16. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
Bye.